Hello, everyone, and welcome to another TechRise. I am Desiree Vargas Wrigley, the Executive Director of TechRise and Chief Innovation Officer at P33. I'm also a two-time Latina founder here in Chicago, so I've been in the shoes of a lot of the founders here. For those of you new to TechRise, we are an initiative started in partnership with Verizon to help support initially our city's Black and Latino founders, but now we've extended to all BIPOC, women, trans, and non-binary founders. So if you are a founder with a great idea or one that's already kicked off and you could use some additional capital and some visibility, please come and apply on techrise.co/apply. And for those of you coming for the first time, the way this works is that we have 5 competitors take the stage. They pitch for 4 minutes, followed by 4 minutes of Q&A from the judges. And then the judges have the very difficult job of deliberating and figuring out who's going to take away $25,000 today in our pre-seed competition. And with that, I'm going to welcome our judges to the stage. So first we have, sorry about this, we have Sonia Nagar. She is partner at Pritzker Group Venture Capital, and she's an angel investor and board director. She's currently a general partner, and she's responsible for sourcing, diligence, and oversight of the firm's investments in marketplaces, consumer products, services, and emerging technologies. Sonia, thanks for coming back. And then we have David Mann, partner at Dundee Venture Capital. He's also a partner at Lake West Venture Partners. I did not know that, and has been investing in seed stage companies since 2011. Thanks for being here, David. And then finally, we have Christopher Langford, partner at Idea Fund Partners. He's a fanatic about technology and its impact on homes and the housing value chain. He spent the bulk of his career as an investor, strategist, advisor, and innovation executive across the housing sector, from home builders to service companies and home product retail. So thanks, guys, so much for being here. And with that, we are very on time today, which is unusual. I usually talk a lot more in the beginning. So let's get started. Let's bring the founders on. So first, starting us off is going to be Josh Lewis from Updown app. Hey, Josh, and everyone else will go video off. All right, looks good. We're ready when you are.
I can't see the timer on my side, but.
Oh, there you go. I'll time you.
Okay, cool. Well, yeah, I'm excited to be here. So over 200 million people party every single night, right? And over half of those 200 million people really never know where to go. The reason for that is because there's not enough data and information for people to party, right? So when you think about it, the user, the partier, never understands where to go because the food and beverage industry people also don't understand the partier, right? So there's this big disconnect with no data. And we're building a product, a fun, interactive product that is for the data, the nightlife specific data, right? So when you're talking, what do I like to drink? Where do I like to party? What girls do I like to see? What guys do I like to see? What are these things that really dynamically infiltrate the nightlife industry, right? We tell you where to go, who's there, but all the while really collecting the data piece. And it's really important to us, right? So our user experience is really big. You get on, you create a profile, you tell us your favorite shot, you tell us your favorite genre of music, right? And then we open this world of people that really like the nightlife piece of interest that you do as well, right? And so we do it at a really high level and it has a really good feel to it. So if you look at some of these screens, they look and feel just like some of the other platforms that people are on daily. We already been doing this at a high level. We've only been launched for a few months, but we already have 12,000 users using the product, right? And we're growing monthly. And it's all because we are giving them exactly what they want from a nightlife perspective, right? We're already making some money. So we do consumer data reports. You see this, this brand that says Hack Meals here. It's also a functionality on our app that basically helps venues really like determine what liquor or food specials that they want to put out. But if you look to the left here, you got Power and Light, Diageo, which is the biggest liquor brands in the world. We have really big time partners so that we can continue to make money, but then also expand. And that's when we get to this 10 million users by 2025, right? So we got the organic peer-to-peer, but then our partnerships really spread nationwide. So they're going to act as our distributors, but also as our partners, right? But then we also have that pay guarantee. So we know exactly how much money we need to put out to go get enough users to really make more money, right? And so this is the most scary piece for most investors, most people in general. They see Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, they get scared, right? But we are that, but for nightlife, right? So that's what makes us different from them, one. Two, we operate at the same high level as them from a user experience perspective. We just really focus on the nightlife in part of the industry, right? And so our team is marvelous, right? So we got Abram Shaper, Mackenzie Smith, Terry Ohart, Kirby Apollos, and then our advisor, Craig Lewis, who just raised a $16 million round. So he's helping us really get the back end of our business together. But within that, our team has worked for McDonald's, Nike, Blue Cross Blue Shield, Facebook, some of the biggest brands in the world, work with and for. And so we're really equipped and ready on the back end with our team, right? So the $25,000 that we get today is going directly towards the product, right? And the reason it's going to go towards the product because we have a product roadmap that is really essential to how we're going to continue to gain users. Our goal and that we're going to achieve is 50,000 users by the end of this year. And so we expect to grow around 10,000 users per once we receive this $25,000, right? And so I'm Josh Lewis, the founder and CEO of Updown App Inc., right? And the product that we're building, I'm essentially that person. I've been in the industry for the past decade, one, but then two, I also understand what this industry needs because I've lived and worked in it, right? And so when I say I'm building a product for a person just like me, I'm the reason that this business is going to be successful after we receive your 25,000. Thank you.
All right, judges, you can come on. And David, you want to kick us off?
Yep. Hi, thanks for having me. Josh, thanks for presenting. It's got to be impossible to go within 4 minutes, so I'll be as quick also. Can you talk a little bit about who is your ideal customer, who's the ideal user, and then with that in mind, how you think about the size of the total addressable market of those customers around? Yeah.
So our ideal customer is the person that goes out probably 2 to 3 times a week, right? And that's on the upper side of things. But then that's about, from that addressable market, that's about 400 million people a year, right? And so when you talk about that from a user perspective, it's about 400 million. But when you talk about the industry as a whole, right? So we also deal with the brands, the companies that also fund out the stuff that people drink and consume. That's a $700 billion market, right? And so the market is massive, and we're just going to attack it at a high level with a social media platform that can also hold up and obtain it.
Sonia, you want to go next?
So talk to me a little bit about user acquisition. How have you been acquiring users to date, and how do you see getting people to come onto the app?
Yeah, it's a ton of different ways, man. So like this B2C side is really intense, right? So obviously we do tons of events, right? Tons of in-person interaction events, but the partnerships is what we've decided to do. One hack that people don't know about in this industry is that liquor brands go out and they pay bars and clubs so that people try their product. We're essentially doing the exact same thing, right? So we're partnering with all those clubs and bars and liquor brands to make sure people try our product, but then also get incentives on the back end. And so that's the big piece, is partnering with people that are already established in this industry, but really giving them a technology side that they don't have.
Hey, Josh, good job also. It's always hard to go first. So what's unique in this data that can't be gleaned from, say, an aggregation of point of sales data? Like if I'm Diageo, can't I just find a way to aggregate point of sale data or even understand my distributors and what's going on there to get a sense of how customers are reacting to products? Like what's ultra unique about the data set?
Yeah, it's two pieces, right? So the real time piece is the most magnificent, right? So we're able to dictate what people are drinking, eating, doing in real time. A lot of the data that Diageo, right, for example, they get is monthly or quarterly, right? And that information, you can't be proactive with something like that, right? If it's over the past 3 months they've been doing this, the next 3 months they might be on to something new, right? So that real time piece is big for us. But then really getting into like what liquor I like is different. So like if you buy a well, you don't know exactly what well that was on that bar scale, right? And so within our app, you're able to say, I actually like tequila, but I not just tequila, I like Casamigos, or I like Don Julio, and I like Don Julio Reposado, right? And so you really start to get more detailed and real-time data that they don't have.
We have time for another question if anyone has one. No? Okay.
I got one, I guess.
Great.
Of these 12,000 users, What's the frequency of use in that particular
Yeah,
cohort?
we have 50% a day, right? So about 12,000, but 50% of those people come back every single day to one, see where the hotspots are, where to go, but then also just to continue their conversations that they're having with people online, right? So people are talking about where they're going, where they're partying, and so that interaction piece from people that they trust, that they know like the same nightlife things, gets them to come back. But we're at a 50% rate when it comes to people coming back every single day.
Right, Josh, great job. Next, we're going to invite Sylvia Emuwa with Dinobi Detergent. And judges, I'll ask you to go video off. Thanks. All right, we're ready when you are.
Can everybody see our screen?
Mhm.
Hello, everyone. My name is Augie.
And I'm Sylvia.
And we are
Dinobi.
Dinobi, which means precious in Igbo.
So did you all know that 32 million Americans suffer from eczema, and 1 in 10 individuals will develop eczema during their lifetime? 10 to 15% of this is children. So Dinobi is a solution that started with us. So as my partner said, Dinobi means precious in Igbo. Our goal and our mission is to make green living green living inclusive for everybody. So we created this detergent because we noticed an audience that was overlooked. So detergent companies only spend 5% less on African-American consumers. And the latest data is from 2017 to 18. And in general, over half of Americans, period, want to live a more sustainable lifestyle.
Not to mention, one of the things that happened in our own personal household was that I struggle with eczema. We have 4 kids. Sylvia wanted a cloth diaper, and I'm looking like, what? There's no way we're going to be able to accomplish all those things in one. She set out to work with our amazing organic chemists over a 2-year period, getting our product tested, lab tested to hit all the global standards that we possibly could. And we created an all-in-one for everybody. So here's our team. So Sylvia is our co-founder. She's the resident dreamer. I also am a co-founder, and I am the product pessimist. So I'm productively insecure about our product, making sure that it's safe, making sure it's on point. We also have Nicole in public relations, who has a huge, amazing background in public relations work. Elizabeth, who's our lead go-getter. We've got Nikki in customer nurturing, Evan in fulfillment. We got our good friend Joe, who is also on our team as a scalability specialist. He founded Orange Glow and OxyClean, and also just recently did the Baja 1000. And we've got our brand ambassadors structured around 11 different states.
So we're a small but mighty company. So traction since inception, we have over 800 direct-to-consumer customers and counting at current. And our current top retail customers who all focus on sustainable living are Grove, Black and Green, Amazon, Chicago Public Schools, Mighty Nest, and Eco and the Flamingo.
And we wish we could tell you about the ones that are upcoming, but we'll keep that behind the curtain.
So right now, Dinobi is part of a $25 billion industry, which is the natural surfactants market as of 12/31/21. Despite COVID, we're still running, and we survived a year-long stock out, and we're on the rebound. Now, we're projected at over 100K for this year after rebounding from COVID, but we have much more potential for growth with more exposure. So this is where tech comes in.
So we recognize that TechRise and a lot of folks that do TechRise typically are looking specifically to do an app. So we want to do an app, but it's coming directly from hearing our customers. And our app idea is around really awareness, right? So when you see these huge words on the screen, none of you guys know what these words mean. But at the end of the day, this is a part of the reason why consumerism has been passive for the years, and we want to fix that. So with the TechRise, we want to build out a precious ingredients app that will allow customers to be able to, first of all, take the skin test, get some awareness about their own situation, and then move them into a broader awareness around some of these scientific words that people sometimes often don't really understand.
All right, and our goal, our call to action is together, let's make green living less niche, less complex, and more precious.
And we can do that together. Stay precious, stay Dinobi, and make sure you shop with us on our website below.
All right, judges, do you want to come on? Yes, you want to start us?
Sure. Great job. Is there any protected intellectual property associated with the formula?
Yes, we are a trade secret formula, so that is something that we don't share.
And we also own 100% of our trade secret.
David, you want to go next?
Sorry. How about a little bit on sort of vision for the future? Do you figure further products, or do you like to move more towards the tech side?
Actually, we're doing a little bit of both. We already have other formulations with other scents that we've tested with live customers. They really love it. Our bergamot and lime, citrus clove, unscented. We're also dropping a dish detergent here in the next month or two, which is also plant-based and highly effective. But we are noticing that people like tech. People like to shop through their apps. They like to get their information. Most people, about 90% of people like to use tech in order to get their information as opposed to web browsing. So no other laundry detergent company that we can find is trying to approach the customer in this type of way. So we want to expand our reach, both with product and with tech.
And in addition to that, we also surveyed pretty much many of our consumers and all of the kids across the 6 schools that we currently partner with. And unfortunately, a lot of them just don't understand what's actually happening with some of the products, why plant-based is the thing, why sustainability is a thing. Less than 7% right now in our research. So we know that there's a need for some education and awareness, and we want to do that in a way that's really smart so we can continue to grow our customer base.
Yeah. Sorry, Sonia, do you want to go next?
So talk to me a little bit about customer acquisition for this one as well. So how have you been acquiring customers to date? When you think about your non-paid marketing acquisition strategies, what do those look like?
So a lot of it has been boots to the ground, because when people are trying to switch from, say, Tide, they have to try it. They have to see, touch, and feel, and they have to see a difference, bless you, between what they've been using and our product, and why it's beneficial to them. So we walk into stores, we send samples. We have been getting some really good press, which we're really happy about. Yeah, and also we do newsletters, constant communication through email, IG, Facebook, so on and so forth, ads, paid ads as well.
Yeah, but again, when we think about like why we're even here today, part of it is because we know that in any kind of dynamic, when someone's making a transaction, you've got to be able to give them something that they need. So a huge part of our design really is about making sure that, we're really nurturing our customer base to give them what they need, nurture them, and then usher them into considering using our product. So everything that Sylvia said, yeah, but then also this mission to make sure that folks are taken care of in a way that's palatable for them, and then recognize us as the authors of doing that.
All right, guys, thanks so much. And next, we're going to welcome our shares and Walter Mendenhall. Can you go video on, Walter? There we go. Good, we're ready when you are.
Hello, my name is Walter Mendenhall, and I am the founder of the Male Mogul Initiative. The Male Mogul Initiative seeks to positively transform the way young men live and lead in their communities through leadership and entrepreneurship development. A couple of years back, we have experienced as a small business owner tremendous growth. And in spite of this growth, we had a hard time trying to access capital to take our business to the next step. Upon further research, I noticed that this is not a problem that I had, but over 80% of Black and Brown entrepreneurial capital needs go unmet in Chicago, which is a $146 million annual gap. Our solution to this problem is OurShare. OurShare is an online ESG-focused marketplace that provides revenue financing to help companies grow their business in a non-dilutive way. It is structured as a revenue share, which means payment size is a percentage of the monthly revenue. It is non-predatory. It helps the business owners retain their ownership control, and it provides equal opportunity across different industries. So how does this work? You basically, if you are a business, you sign up, you connect your accounts, and then what I feel separates us apart from the competition is our intellectual property, which is the RISE score that is specifically developed for underrepresented entrepreneurs and assessing their credit worthiness. And then you receive an offer in 48 hours. So how do we gain money for this? So say if your business made $150,000 in the first month, we will get 6 to 9% of that gross revenue for that month, which would be approximately $13,500. If your company made $10,000, then we will get 6% of that, which would be $900. So what I feel stands us apart is our team. So our CEO, Jared Lloyd, perfected this financing solution in Rwanda, in Africa, with Rwandan entrepreneurs. Myself being a PhD in organizational leadership and part of the National Small Business Association Leadership Council, star NBA player Kyrie Irving, in which Jared helps manage his family office and is a supporter of OurShares, and John Gosher, who is the CEO of Film Hedge, in which we have partnered to help do some underwriting and assess our RISE score. So the opportunity. There is an $87 billion annual gap of unmet loans under $100,000. And the revenue-based financing market is projected to reach over $42 billion in 2027. So some of the validation and highlights. Through our underwriting, we had less than 2% default rate on over 100 million deployed in loans by a third party. And we currently have a pipeline of $50 million worth of tradable revenues in the year coming up. So this 25,000, we will use it to increase our integration and automation capabilities. And what does it look like? 9 million potential jobs, 300 billion in GDP, and over 1 million minority-owned businesses. So thank you for this time and helping us to create a more equitable marketplace for underrepresented founders. Thank you.
All right, thanks, Walter. Judges, you want to come on? And Sonia, you want to kick us off? Or while she comes on, David, you want to kick us off?
Sure. Thank you. What do you know about sort of the variety of the regulatory environment for these types of transactions? Is it different state by state? Do you have sort of different things you have to worry about based on where people are located in various state laws, et cetera?
For revenue financing, it is usually considered like a debt. So the regulations and things of that sort are very minimal to states. I know that, you can't charge like the 300% interest, like something like a payday loan or anything of that sort, as long as you're not charging exorbitant amounts of interest or royalties. It's pretty good across states.
All right, Sonia, you want to go now?
So talk to me a little bit about that traction numbers again. So for the early kind of proof of concept, what are you seeing for the economics?
Yes. So we partnered our partner, John, he's with Film Hedge. And one thing that we wanted to do is provide a proof of concept for our, I guess you can say, due diligence, credit analysis. So using, his company, we were underwriting different companies in order to see their credit worthiness. And the results of that is that they were able to lend out over $100 million worth of loans and capital. And it's less than a 2% default rate on that. So that is just, kind of the data points that we are looking for in order to kind of prove the viability of our intellectual property.
And Chris.
So it sounds to me like the core differentiation is this RISE underwriting. So what do you what's substantially different in your underwriting that enables you to sort of see value in these loans that these banks and other institutions are missing?
That's a great question. So we use a variety of 20 variables, but I think the three that stand out is real-time data, stewardship of what you have already had, and psychometrics, in which that is assessing that person's, kind of personality traits. And so that is kind of the three kind of differentiators that makes ours more inclusive, as opposed to traditional underwriting that looks at, your credit score, which is not real time, the assets you have in your bank and things of that sort.
All right. Thanks so much, Walter. And next, we're going to invite Sanarai and Luis Suarez.
Thank you, Desiree. Hello, everyone. Excited to be here.
I'm gonna have judges go video off. Thanks.
I'm Luis Suarez, founder and CEO of Sanarai. So I'm originally from Mexico City, came to the US to do my MBA at Duke University. I met my now wife there. We graduated in 2017. I came to Chicago, where I worked as a management consultant for 3 years. And then we eventually got married March 14th, 2020. And if you remember, that was quite an eventful week with COVID hitting and the lockdown starting. So upon coming back to Chicago, I was looking for mental health support and struggled to find someone that I could speak Spanish with and that could fit my schedule. And that's where the idea comes from. Sanarai is an online platform that connects the Latinx community to mental health professionals in Latin America to provide culturally sensitive Spanish language emotional support at accessible prices. There's a big gap in the market. Only 5% of mental health professionals in the US speak Spanish versus 13% of the population that speaks Spanish at home. Treatment rates for the Latinx community are 10 percentage points below the average. In our platform, it's really easy to schedule emotional support sessions with vetted mental health professionals. We offer a free online consultation for 30 minutes, and then our 50-minute emotional support sessions are $35. The market is huge. Just in the US, more than 40 million people speak Spanish at home, and that within itself is north of a $3 billion opportunity. And then these services are very transferable in terms of geography and language. So if you consider the whole US and Spanish-speaking LATAM, now you're seeing a $45 billion opportunity. And we've validated different distribution channels. We've created a phone brand. We go direct to consumer. We do digital ads, blogs, and present on social media. And we've also validated a B2B2C channel where we partner with community centers that offer our services to the families they support and employers that offer our services to their employees. We've been having great traction so far. Just this year, we've already quadrupled our monthly sales. Since launch, we've had more than 2,600 sessions happen in our platform. Revenues grow by more than 20% month over month. We're happy to see customer lifetime value increasing, and this is because folks that start with us, they continue and they like our service. We have a super high net promoter score, both from individual users as well as from our partner organizations. And we're just getting started. We validated our MVP. We were successfully raised a pre-seed round. Now we're focused on creating the brand that the Latinx community trusts their mental health with. Later on this year, we'll be opening our seed round. And after that, we're gonna be focusing much more on building the technology that will make the life of our users and providers easier. We were oversubscribed in our pre-seed round. We're working with great early stage VC funds. Shout out to Long Jump and Visible Hands. And if we win today, we will be able to hire a new team member that is going to be focused on partnerships and content creation. We're very excited about where we're going and being able to help people find the care they need, same care that I was looking for 2 years ago. Thank you very much.
Great job. All right, Sonia, I'm going to have you start today.
Sounds good. So talk to me, I saw the 80% conversion from free to paid. What does the retention curve look like when someone starts with you? How many people that start go to month 6, or even you may not have been around for 12 months, but kind of what does that curve look like?
Yeah, that's a great question. So it's similar to like a dating app. This is not something that we will have people be retained forever. This is more, we're gonna naturally have churn. So people that stay with us, that pay for a session, they normally do between 8 and 10 sessions. So that's what we're working with, but we're trying different things to improve that retention.
Chris?
Yeah, so what is kind of the cultural relationship with mental health? I mean, I think whether it's gender or cultures, et cetera, have their own sort of weird potential relationship with the concept of mental health. So walk me through what's unique in the Latinx community about that relationship and seeking help.
Yeah, so I think the Latinx community is a little further behind than the rest of the country, but then I think it's like on the same wave, riding the same wave of like seeking more help and just it being more acceptable and with less stigma. So now you have celebrities like J Balvin speaking out and talking about mental health. So it's farther along, but I think it's riding the same wave.
David?
So this is a little bit of a continuation of that question, because that was sort of my area as well. So how do you validate, I guess, that now is sort of that immediate perfect time to do it, to launch your business versus 6 months or 6 years from now, when you might have more progression within the Latinx community, just out of curiosity?
I thought COVID was a great moment to launch, and there's a lot of like focus on mental health, telehealth, etc. And yeah, I think that's and a lot of like our users are not like super tech savvy, so the fact that COVID happened and like so many people like started using Zoom and other tools just makes it a good time for us to launch this business.
We have time for one more question if you guys have one. Nope. Okay. Well, I guess you covered everything for them, Luis. Great job.
Thank you.
And next we will welcome on Wendy Slone with bTECH. Looks like we don't. There you go.
Thank you for the introduction. Yeah, thank you for the introduction. I'd like to start off by sharing that my mom was a diabetic. She developed diabetic foot ulcers, and even though they were treated, they would reappear with even more complications. And ultimately, I saw my mom lose both of her legs to diabetic foot ulcers within the span of 3 years. Conventional therapies failed her, in my opinion. And so this is why I have spent the past 3 years developing the Halcyon Smart Patch. But let me get to the main problem. Between 15 and 25% of all diabetics will develop a diabetic foot ulcer, and approximately 5 to 8% of them will require an amputation. This problem is even more pervasive in the African American community, where we're 4 times more likely to have an amputation as a result of a diabetic foot ulcer. Treating diabetic foot ulcers as soon as possible is critical in order to prevent complications. However, current technologies only focus on the surface layer. They don't prevent infections, they're expensive, and they don't repair the damaged tissue or strengthen the skin. Light therapies, on the other hand, have been recognized for more than 10 years as a non-invasive technology that can be used to heal wounds from the inside out. When light hits our skin, it is transformed into heat, and it activates the natural wound healing processes in our bodies. In simple terms, heat will signal specific cell receptors to increase blood flow to an area that requires repair. Fresh blood flow when in the wound area comes with fresh nutrient and oxygen, which in turn promotes the healing process. However, light technologies in the market space now are bulky, they're expensive, require trained medical personnel, and multiple visits to the doctor's office. Here's our solution. bTECH miniaturizes light therapy into the Halcyon Smart Patch, which can easily be placed anywhere in the body and improves healing and has the potential to prevent amputations from diabetic foot ulcers. Rather than a big laser as a light source, our patent-pending patch uses nanotechnology to harness far infrared light and act as the light source. The patch then transforms this light into heat and subsequently activates the natural wound healing process in the body. Overall, the patch strengthens the skin, prevents infections, and repairs the damaged tissue from the inside out. The potential to save lives and build a thriving business from this small patch is huge, as the chronic wound market is a $20 billion TAM. Of this, bTECH is initially targeting 300,000 patients with diabetic foot ulcers as young as the age of 18, representing a $240 million SAM. After FDA clearance, bTECH will initially target 5 high-volume wound care centers, seeing on average 4,000 patients with diabetic foot ulcers per year for $16 million by 2025. As we grow, we will expand to reach 400 of the 1,000 wound care centers in the US by 2034 for $1.3 billion. So far, we have developed a preliminary prototype and collected data from animal studies with rodents that have shown that the device can retain and distribute heat and initiate tissue healing. With your support, bTECH will follow the FDA Class 2 510K pathway to commercialize the Halcyon Smart Patch by 2025. We have a strong team who provide a mix of integrative medicine, wound research, clinical trials, business commercialization expertise who are committed to advancing this space. If we win this money, we will use this in order to advance our prototype and preclinical trial data. Currently, we are raising a $3 million seed round to build prototypes, finalize our IP, and expand on that preclinical validation, and work on our reimbursement as well as our regulatory strategy. I'm Wendy Slone of bTECH, and as a scientist and entrepreneur and someone who watched her mom lose both of her legs to diabetic foot ulcers, I'm committed to advancing the wound care space. So I'm asking you to join bTECH in saving the legs and the lives of the 7 million chronic wound sufferers and diabetic foot ulcer patients in the United States. Thank you.
Great job, Wendy. Judges, you want to come on? And David, you want to go first?
Yep. Thanks, Wendy. Tell me a little bit more about the status of the team. I mean, this is a large endeavor. Are those people sort of geared up to be full-time with you? Ultimately, once you raise the 3 million, how do you sort of fill all the needs that you'll have to fill to bring this to market and keep going?
Yeah, these individuals on our team have been with bTECH pretty much since the beginning, after it was a concept out of my head and actually became the prototype. In addition to that, we work with a great team that we just brought on board with us, NPR. They're a global engineering firm. We have regulatory consultants with Archimus that we're working with that are going with us to our pre-submission for FDA this fall. And then we are also working with our Genta advisors on the reimbursement codes.
Thank you.
I'll jump in. walk me through a little bit of the competitive landscape and what's going on today. I can imagine that there's obviously gigantic companies in the space, and so just trying to understand who you're going up against and what the core treatment that they're proposing is.
Yeah, so the biggest competitors are in the conventional market space, which are talking about the duoderms, tegaderms, second skins. And now with the advent of scaffold called MAP gels, which you can actually, some of them inject right into a wound bed. And those are using nanotechnology. The other side of it is the light therapy, the cold, low laser therapies and heat lamps, truthfully. And so there is Augustine, it's called Augustine System, which is our biggest predicated device that we have identified so far as we're moving towards our pre-submission with FDA. But what we're finding is our differentiator is, one, we don't have to be over the bed of a wound. So that is a huge difference. Secondly, some of the other devices that are true photobiomodulated light devices, like Bayer just funded one called Zygar Health, actually focus on topical issues like psoriasis and eczema. So the device is incapable of reaching down and actually getting light beneath the surface of the skin where it can increase microcirculation. And so that is a huge differentiator. And then a third differentiator of us and our competitors is that we're after increasing tensile strength in the skin. So skin, when it heals with the other ones, it's like this, is porous. We're trying to make that tight juncture again so that the wound is not likely to reopen and then you are suffering an amputation at the end of it.
Sonia.
What are the biggest risks in the FDA approval process? Like, what are the pieces of the technology that are novel that may, require or create some risk on whether they'll approve or not?
So right now, we did a study with, we participated in G-Beta MedTech, and we had some great relationships with Boston Scientific, and they helped us look at those predicated devices. And so right now, we haven't identified anything that would raise flags with FDA because we feel that we have a predicate in terms of the items that I just talked about. Everything we use to build and fabricate the device is biodegradable, bio-friendly, biocompatible, so you won't have issues of allergic reactions like you have with some of the hydrogels. You won't have issues with it staying in the body because it comes out in the renal function. And because we're using nanoparticle technology that FDA has already approved, we don't feel that it would be a barrier for us to enter in through those mechanisms.
All right, great job, Wendy, and great job to all of our founders today. The judges are going to go off and deliberate and choose who's going to win $25,000. So stay on so you can see the most exciting part of the show. And with that, I'm going to welcome some of our friends, other founders who have recently fundraised or in the process of fundraising, so that we can hear a little bit about what it's like to be a founder going through this process right now in Chicago. So with that, I'm going to invite Jasmine Shells, founder of 5 to 9, Andre Kazmarsky, which I hopefully I didn't mess up your name, founder of Improvy, and Sergio Rodriguez from Toduli. Hey guys.
Hello.
It's nice having the pros on here with me. So I thought I'd put you guys a little bit in the hot seat and have you go around and say your one-liner elevator pitch so the audience can see how it's done. Improvy, you want to start?
Yeah, absolutely. Alrighty. After fundraising, you kind of get this locked in. So Improvy is a digitally native managed marketplace that digitizes the painting service experience for homeowners and contractors. So we apply an Uber-like model to getting your house painted. So just like Uber, we handle all the sourcing, communication, pricing, payments, curating the entire process from start to finish. And our ultimate goal is to become the operating system that powers the residential painting industry and soon more home improvement service verticals to finally make the lives of contractors and homeowners better and more sustainable.
And in true founder fashion, I asked for a sentence and you gave me 4, but they were all good, so I'll take it. Jasmine, Jasmine, your turn.
Hey, I'm Jasmine. I'm the co-founder and CEO of 5 to 9. And essentially what we built is an event management platform for workplaces. So we help them to manage all their employee events through our software, from workplace development to diversity and inclusion.
All right, Sergio.
Awesome. So Toduli is the easiest way for young adults from underrepresented areas to earn formative work experience. We do this by leveraging the demand for unskilled outdoor tasks in the suburbs.
Love it. Thanks, guys. Okay, so you guys have been in the city fundraising for several years. Some of you have gone through Techstars, you've had, mentors around you, but it's definitely not an easy journey, right? And so I was wondering if you guys could just share a little bit about what is so hard about raising money in Chicago. I know it's not on the list of questions. I go off script all the time. Sorry.
That's a very biased question, but I don't disagree with it. I do believe that raising money in the Midwest is more difficult in a lot of other places. So on my cap table, we have Midwest investors, New York investors, Bay Area investors, and I can certainly say that it is a totally different process pitching and raising money from those different areas. Not to single out Chicago, just the Midwest in general. It's a little bit harder to raise money if you don't have a lot of traction or a lot of data and your proof of concept. When I would say like the Bay Area, they're a little bit more willing to take higher risks and very early ideas. So I'd say that's probably the biggest difference between the two. And another thing I noticed is if you have a lead investor from the Bay Area, suddenly traction is not as important in the Midwest. So I guess that's another observation that I had.
So in a nutshell, the Bay is more likely to fund you to go build your vision. And once you get them, it's easier to get local investors on board because of FOMO. Is that fair?
Yeah, I mean, I don't like using FOMO because it's not super like academic, but yeah, I mean, long story short, I would say it comes down to risk appetite, right? So the appetite for risk in the Midwest is not as high as say like in the Bay Area and a few other markets. So when you have a lead investor and the round is coming together, the risk profile of that investment or that opportunity comes down. So it becomes a better opportunity for Midwest investors.
Jasmine, what do you think? Bless you.
Thank you. So yeah, I would definitely say that I think with Chicago, like you have to be not only really well networked, but I do think that sometimes later stage deals do get a little more love. I think what's great is to see over the past couple years how much funding has started to be poured into early stage startups, like even with TechRise and a great article that came out just about other funds such as Long Jump and Fifth Star Fund. So we're starting to see a shift, which I think has been absolutely amazing. But yeah, from my time, I think it was a little bit harder when I first started to fundraise. But the angel community in Chicago, I would say, is absolutely amazing. Never had any problem with that. So I think just with more time, we'll start to see that the appetite to invest earlier stage companies will continue to get a little bit better here.
Do you have a perspective on what makes Chicago so hard?
I really don't know why, but there's definitely a difference. We went as far as to craft two different kind of style pitch decks for Midwest versus the coasts. And one thing that is a benefit in Chicago, I think Chicago founders, the connections that you make and getting warm intros and starting to network 6 to 12 months before you actually start fundraising, I think Chicago founders are actually probably more willing to give advice and connect with you than any other investor. I think it's just because we're humble, but that it is certainly a different beast when it comes to the Chicago startup community or investors versus the coast. But you could play into that if you strategize correctly.
Completely agree. So last year in 2021, Chicago founders in the seed and pre-seed stage raised $290 million, which is great, big improvement from previous years. But our city only has 50 million in check writing capacity. So that means our founders went out and found another $240 million outside of Chicago. So I think it just proves that we need to spend time doing the work outside of Chicago, and then hopefully some of the local investors will come in. But most of the money that our city needs is actually not here. So you guys definitely validated that for me. What piece of advice would you give founders who, if they're in the process of a fundraise right now, it's kind of hard to be helpful. We've learned this a little bit with Speed Round, but if you are 6 months away, what should you be doing right now to make sure that you are ready for your raise?
So like Andre said, the fundraising process, it doesn't really start or end. Like as a founder and CEO, you are fundraising all the time. And he was talking about building connections, networking 6 months ahead of time. Like that is absolutely true. Like if you're planning to do a raise, you very much have to start putting a pipeline together. You have to determine who are going to be the founders who are going to make warm interest for you. For me, whenever I see an article in LinkedIn or like there's an announcement on Crunchbase, a founder that just closed a seed round or a new fund that just got put together that didn't exist before, that maybe invest in other represented founders or has a focus on like my industry, I add it to my pipeline. I add it to my interest list. Even if I'm not going to get to it like this week or this month, whenever I'm ready to go out and raise, I know that I have prospected enough people that my pipeline will be big enough to be able to pull around from it.
Yeah, I think creating a pipeline based on your industry, business model, investment stage is incredibly important. Understanding which firms to target, and then work your way back from there and use, Crunchbase and other founders they've invested in or had recent exits. That's just a really good way to start, because really, if you have the right target, you know exactly kind of how to back channel your way to really make that connection. But I think it's because, you don't want to target a Series A firm if you're, raising a seed fund, a round. So I made that mistake a little bit early because I was just like spray and pray. But if you get really targeted and you create that pipeline 6 to 12 months beforehand, or if you haven't yet, right now, it will really, really help understanding what their target allocation is, check size, all of that. So.
Awesome.
Yeah, and to kind of add on that, I think absolutely, like they both said, create that list. And what I think is also super important is to kind of understand who you really, really want to work with, and then maybe some folks that you could practice with. So I always advise don't talk to the funds that you really want first, because it takes a lot of no's. You go through a lot of objection handling to kind of get your pitch exactly how you want it, and to understand the questions that you'll be asked. So your story will only get stronger the more practice that you have.
Yeah, absolutely. What about tools? Do you guys use any? You mentioned Crunchbase, but are there any other tools that you all use to help manage your process or get introductions or even help with your pitch deck?
Well, P33 was a huge game changer for us. Like you and Evan have been incredible. I think leading on the startup community and P33, if you're involved in this is like incredible people. Desiree, I don't know if I know somebody better who can pitch and go through pitch practice than you. And it's like, you helped us out so much. The other tool is, and start building really good habits as a founder right now. Monthly updates. We use paperstreet.vc. I know Todooli's on there. And I love using it because you can see who's accessing. Basically, if I look at my investor list and pipeline on PaperStreet for my monthly investor updates, the top clicks that I get on those were actually our lead investor. And so it reflects kind of interest and kind of excitement around things, but start building those habits. Now, monthly our investor updates are just like, start doing them. I don't care how painful it is, start doing them right now, because act as if you're the perfect founder for that investor already, because they're looking at every single thing you do and sort of reverse engineering what it is to be an investor in your company right now. So.
I definitely want to double click on that because one of the things when you build a relationship with investors, they're looking to see, did they do what they said they were going to do, and what did they learn from it? And that monthly update is a perfect way to do it, as long as you do it concisely, right? Like we don't need to know everything. And just want to also add that we really like the tool Signal by NFX if you're for the audience. But also, just so you know, TechRise founders, we have a premium membership with PaperStreet for free. So you should come in through the portfolio link that you should have received in an email and get premium access.
So I'll talk a little bit about the tools, but first I wanna point out something that Andre said, because I absolutely agree with the sentiment that your habits are gonna be the most important thing. As if you want to be successful in fundraising, the tool is less important. But for example, you can send the email update without a tool, right? You can prospect investors without Signal from NFX. So it's really the habits, it's being consistent and doing things like over and over again every day that is going to result in you successfully closing a round. But just to name a few tools that I personally use and what I used to close my last round. So I created an Airtable to manage my investor pipeline. You don't have to use Airtable. You could use a spreadsheet. You could use a CRM. So you could use a lot of other different tools. Additionally, I did use a Signal from NFX to prospect. I use LinkedIn. LinkedIn is an amazing tool. You can see who's connected to who, so you can request your warm intros. So LinkedIn, Crunchbase. I actually paid for LinkedIn so that when I'm fundraising, so that I can have access to like everybody's connections, and I say, you know, like who's talking to who. I would say those are like the main ones. And then this is sort of post fundraising. There are a bunch of tools to manage your cap table and sort of like your data room and all this other stuff. Like Carta is probably the gold standard, but there's a new one called Pulley, which is a little bit cheaper. And I would say it's probably more founder friendly at this point. But yeah, I have a whole list of fundraising tools. But again, I want to reiterate the tools are great, but the habits are absolutely what will make or break your round.
Completely agree. Switching gears a little bit. So one of the things that we talk a lot about is product market fit. Founder market fit is also a critical piece of it. But when you are fundraising, how do you think about proof points when you don't have a ton of traction yet towards product market fit?
Yeah, I think it's considering what you do have proof of. So like the team being a really strong one, like, hey, why are you the teams to do this? I know that helped out a lot with our case, right? Another thing is, even if you don't have revenue, what do you have? Is it users? Do you have a mailing list? Do you have some sort of MVP? So any sort of things that you could pull together to show that there is some sort of interest or market, whatever data you have, could be super, super extremely helpful. So when we first launched, we actually kind of pulled together our own MVP. Like, we didn't have a technical founder at the time, so we kind of used tools that already existed to create, this is what we want to build. And then we showed that to prospective customers and asked them if they would buy it, right? So that really helped us a lot to validate, okay, if we got money behind this thing, we built something, we would be able to get some traction. So that's kind of how 5to9 approached it.
Anyone else want to talk about it?
Yeah, so for me, like something that is a misconception, investors don't like risk. Founders don't actually like risk. If anything, we're trying to mitigate risk at all costs. So when it comes to building a story, like founders have to be master storytellers, and you have to build a narrative where there's great upside and low risk. And it doesn't necessarily have to be about product market fit, right? So a way to say like great upside is to have a big market, or to essentially say that you have an amazing team, right? And this team is perfectly positioned to do this. The 3 questions that you should be able to answer in every investor meeting, and you don't have to answer this directly, but you want the investor to know the answers after the meeting, is why this, why me, and why now? You have to answer those 3 questions. Like, why is this the time to do this idea? Why is this the team? And why is this the product that is going to be successful? So you have to make sure there's clarity on those answers when you're building your narrative. I personally like to start with PowerPoint, and I do my slides with just black and white, just text and like plain slides, no pictures, no infographics. And I build my story first. So I build my narrative first, and I try to put myself in the investor's shoes and thinking, is this going to sound like it's high risk, right? Or is this going to sound exciting and like there's big upside? So I would say the narrative, the story is really important. I spent probably up to a month just working on the story before I even start talking to investors.
Andre, anything to add?
Yeah, I mean, lean on your founder network 6 to 12 months beforehand and start practicing. I mean, people love working with you for pitch practice. They love hearing it. I think if you don't have product market fit, focus on founder market fit, and then think 10 times bigger than you ever thought. I think one of the things, being from the Midwest, we're also kind of like humble, that I made the mistake of just not, I knew we were on the cusp of something great. Don't be afraid, like, be uncomfortable with your ultimate vision, your big, hairy, audacious goal, the BHAG that you sort of create around it. Like, if you don't feel uncomfortable saying it out loud, you're not pushing yourself enough, because investors are looking for a 10x return. They're not looking for, a $30-40 million exit. They're looking for founders that are uniquely positioned to change the world. And that's really, starting with that narrative, practicing it, that's key. I mean, everything else will come naturally once you create the buy-in for yourself first.
I couldn't agree more. Thank you guys so much for spending time with us today and hopefully inspiring some of the founders that are watching. And it looks like the judges are back. So founders, can you come back to camera on? And you can unmute if you'd like. And then judges, who's going to announce the winner today?
I am.
All right. Do we have all of our founders on? Looks like it. Great. All right. Drum roll. Who wins today?
Today's winner is Luis with Sanarai.
Oh, congratulations.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. This is great. Such, we love TechRise. We have a lot of value from TechRise and the overall just Chicago tech community, and just feel very welcome and very this is great.
Well, thank you guys so much. And remember, founders, this is not a one and done experience. You can come back on. This was Luis's second time pitching, right? So he, gets better every time. And thank you, as always, to Verizon for being a sponsor. Thank you, judges, so much for spending this time with our founders. And I hope you all have a wonderful weekend. And we will see you next week.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much.